Help us keep the Product Porch lights on by giving at patreon.com/theproductporch. Please review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your reviews help new listeners discover us. Thanks.
Man, how much better would this world be if we just all exercised a little bit of empathy in the way that we interact with people?
Welcome to the Product Porch with Joe Golly, Ryan Cantwell, and me, Todd Blockier. Our topic today is product principles you can use in your personal life. Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic.
All right, guys, I've got something for you this week. So here we are, it's mulch season, and I see a nice weekend ahead. So I get really excited and think, oh, I'm going to knock out my mulch early. I'm going to, once the weather starts turning, I don't have to worry about it. So I do what any good product manager does, and I open my favorite tool, Excel. And I go hard, where it's like, okay, who's got the best mulch deal? And I make a nice table, and I compare this one to that one. And I start, okay, what's the delivery cost? Is there anyone running a coupon? Can I find a good one? And I put this together, and I'm very proud of my work. When I call my wife and I say, Molly, check it out. I know what we're doing. It's time to get some mulch. I found the right one. The first thing she does is roll her eyes into the back of her head. Why do you need to make a spreadsheet for everything? Does everything need a spreadsheet? How much money do you think you saved by making the spreadsheet? Was the question she asked me. I found the best deal. She's like, okay, probably you saved yourself $30, $50. Was it worth the time you sat and did that? She asked me that.
That's half a dinner.
So what do you guys think? It's half a dinner. What do you think? Did I go too hard on spreadsheets for mulch?
Okay, first off, just to validate you, do you need an Excel spreadsheet for everything? Yes. Yes. I have Excel spreadsheets for all my vacations. I have Excel spreadsheets for everything.
Right. It's our favorite tool.
But was Molly right in that? Was it worth the $30? I don't. If you spent more than an hour doing it, probably not.
Yeah. Opportunity cost of me. What could I have used that time? I get it. I get it.
What do you think, Joe?
I think Ryan tapped into a very key product management principle of jobs to be done. Mm. And I think what Ryan was doing is help me seem to be budget conscious.
Ooh, a social job.
So his functional job was find the cheapest way to get mulch. With Ryan, I'm with you, buddy. Because I did the pro con of having it delivered versus going to the supermarket and getting 76 bags of mulch and making a couple trips. That's besides the point. But we got a couple of jobs to be done, right? Help me save money. Help me seem like I'm being responsible and conscious of our money. That's a big jobs to be done there, guys. A lot of companies today, they drop the ball with that emotional and social job to be done.
So I'm going to back that up. First off, I want to validate that. And I don't know if you were raised the way I was. I grew up in a middle class family. My dad was very cost conscious. I imagine that my father is looking at me every time I make a purchase. He is watching me. And when I save $20, he's like, good job, Todd. Good job, Todd.
You did it.
That is a social job. My wife doesn't care.
No.
The social job, I don't think is for anyone but my father, who does not know what I'm spending on anything.
But think about the emotional job, right? Todd, you have 3 kids, right? You have 3. Okay, that's 3 human beings you're going to send to college, right?
I don't know about one. I don't know about
one.
You
have 2?
Okay.
Well, yeah, we all have one like that, right? We all. But it's all those little things they add. In my brain, it all adds up. Yes.
So this has me thinking, guys. I have 2 questions for us to kind of focus on. One, how often do we let product management principles creep into real life? And 2, which ones are appropriate to let to creep into real life and which ones aren't?
Oh. I think I said subconscious now. I've been doing this it's like, I think it's why I love what I do for a living, because it doesn't feel like work, because it's the way my brain power is used during the day is the same at night. Like, it's just comfortable. Like, it's not like I have to turn one part on my brain and do something different. It's like, it's just in how I look at the world, right? Like, I look at context.
Yeah.
Our inability to look at context, to understand the use case.
Yep.
We have just completely missed the boat in our world lately with regards to like how we approach people, understanding we don't know what happened to that person 10 minutes before they walked into a meeting with me. We've forgotten how to give someone the benefit of the doubt. We've forgotten to understand context. You know, it's like the tried and true product management principle, like know thy customer.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes that's way easier said than done. I can say it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But like you think about like some basic product management principles, exercising empathy, which like, I'm not going to get into politics. Won't get into it. Right. But man, how much better would this world be if we just all exercised a little bit of empathy in the way that we interact with people?
You're right. And I'm going to give you an example, a recent example in my home about that empathy. So my kids are very creative. They love to make games. And then they'll go up the street and they'll make these games for the rest of the kids in the neighborhood. And they'll all play these games. Well, my son was having a hard time getting people to play his game. And he was very frustrated. My daughter, they'll make a joke. She doesn't like it when they say this, but they'll call her the queen of the neighborhood because basically every kid in the neighborhood will do whatever she says. And he gets frustrated because he doesn't get the same amount of respect, right? So I told him, I said, you need to look at your sister and learn from what she's doing here. She understands what these kids want, and she gives it to them. And that's why they're following her in these games. My son is a little bit more rigid. If he creates a game and there's some rules, those are the rules. Yeah. My daughter's willing to flex those rules if they don't seem to be enjoying them. And I was telling my son, like, look, you got to be able to flex with your user persona here, and you'll get everyone playing your game.
Yeah. Right? It's kind of like that read the room, yes. Right? Learning how to read the room, like exercising, was it emotional intelligence?
Yes.
Like I'd like to think I'm comfortable there, right? Like you guys know me.
Absolutely you are. It's
right? I can like, okay, something doesn't seem right. Let's figure this out, right? But I actually I think a part of me believes that if some of us in life could take some basic product management classes, I think we'd be better human beings in general. We'd be better human beings.
I have never been so proud to be in this field than I am right now, having heard you say that. I'm like, you are right. The world would be a better place if we all learned how to empathize with others.
We have completely lost our mind.
Yeah, and I like, and empathy is one thing. We hear that word a lot, right? Practice empathy. And I think like a way I hack my way into empathy sometimes, or like to shed the selfish skin, is to just be curious. Like just kind of like go in like,
ask why.
I'm gonna find out. Like this will be fun. Like it's as an opportunity to maybe learn something instead of just like like kind of pushing against. I am pulling towards like some of those situations. But yeah.
Now I will say this: there's in talking about partners again, there is a limit to that product technique in your partnership.
Yes.
Big
Sometimes there's only so curious you're supposed to be.
Just listen to just listen. Like, I don't need you to
Yes.
do anything, but
Yeah.
just listen.
Don't ask
Yeah.
why all the time.
Don't. Yeah. Sometimes you just do it.
Right.
Where I think where I was forced to do that was when my father-in-law passed away, and my mother-in-law was flying solo, and like my mother-in-law, it's like I kept telling Karen, if she'd get frustrated because she'd make decisions, you're like, what is she doing? She ordered it on what's website? Wait, what is she thinking? I kept telling Karen, I'm like, she wants independence. Like, think about that, jobs to be done. Like, emotionally, I've had something taken away from me without choice. I want to be in control. And a lot of people that lose a loved one, they have that. They feel a sense of they've lost control. And so they start making decisions in their life where they want to exude that control. And we have to understand, I think we got everyone around it, but like, we have to understand that how people react in certain situations. And many times they want to be in control because they felt like control was taken away from them.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. And as I'm listening to kind of us talk about this, guys, it's kind of just underlining the point that how much of what a product manager is doing in their work life applies. It's how broad. It's like, this is what we do at work can be applied very broadly, like across like life in many different situations. It's interesting, like to do this.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'll give you one because I liked when you prompted us with this. I kind of went through a list in my head, Ryan, of different techniques or principles that I use in my day to day. And one that jumps to the top of the bullet, which by the way, there's a right time and a wrong time. And you guys could probably tell me which is which, but problem framing.
Oh,
Problem
yeah.
framing. Like helping understand what is the actual problem we're trying to solve here. Because I've learned this in the world. I had this happen recently this week. I met with a salesperson. They were having some issues with a new demo that we released. And as we're talking about it, they just they called it glitches. There's all these glitches, and they just start talking. And honestly, it took me a while to carve through everything they were saying, and I found 3 distinct problems.
Yeah.
Well, in real life, I do this. Recently, I did it with my son's teacher. My son's teacher my son had an assignment that he knew he needed to do, but then the guide that says what they do all week wasn't matching with what he knew to do. So we had to reach out to the teacher. But there were multiple kind of layers to this problem. And so as my wife's explaining it to me, trying to understand, because I said, I'll reach out. I'm thinking, what message am I writing? All right, this will be far more effective if I target the problem. And so we talked through it. I have found my wife really appreciates my problem framing thinking in those situations. As we try to understand it to make sure I'm like tackling it the right way. Now, if she's having an emotionally tough day, problem framing, not the tool. Not the tool.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think by the way, that's not just her. That's not a her thing. That's a human thing.
There's common sense.
If I'm upset and emotionally upset, trying to frame my problem, probably not going to go very well. I think it applies to humans generally. And maybe it's because I think it applies to me really well, but I think it applies to humans generally. I think we are bad at identifying truly what the issue is.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's a social job to be done, an emotional job to be done. I think that we're just not great at that as humans.
Yeah, we know how it makes us feel. That is the first thing. Whether we respond to that at a 10 or at a 2, we know how it makes us feel. Instead of thinking, what is the underlying problem here? And that's what business people do. Think about the leaders that we've all encountered, where it's the immediate, I have to do something, I have to do it now.
I have to react.
I'm just going to do it. Like, instead of, whoa, should I take a day and think about this to try and just ask some questions first? It does fly in the face of human nature.
Yep. I try to. So Todd, you'll appreciate this. The how to say no.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
How do you say no is by like, okay, let me put it back into my words, what I'm hearing you tell me.
Yep.
That works really well because I'm like, okay. And I'll even preface it. I'm like, all right, hold on, guys. I'm like, here's what I'm hearing. I'm like, everyone can bring it down an octave. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, based on what you're telling me, this is what I'm hearing. Tell me what I'm missing. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, well, those are the words we just used. Can you help me understand where you're coming from? Like, it's like, take a step back,
Yes.
help me understand. Now, again, can't do that all the time.
Well, what's funny about that? I was thinking, you have teenagers. I have teenagers. Ryan, they're coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Just hold on.
I use
Buckle up.
that technique. That's where I find I'm wrong every time. So what I'm hearing you say is no, Dad, and then I try again. Okay, wait, let me try again. Explain it to you again. Okay, so it sounds like no, that's not it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am trying so hard.
It actually reminds me of there was a Seinfeld episode where Kramer was a movie theater answering service.
Mm.
And he got so frustrated. And he goes, why don't you just tell me what movie you want to see?
Yes.
Right? So like, when you get in those, right, when you get in those situations, he's like, why don't you just tell me? You know, it's like, I know but we're getting to that point. But that, like, it's hard though, because you just want to fix it, which is again, parallel to the business world. Like, you just want to fix it.
Yes.
Just want to fix it. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on this versus addressing the core issue, understanding the who and the why. Right?
Oh my goodness. We just started talking without a structure, and we naturally went to the who first, and then now we're talking about the why.
Our product brain.
There's only one way that we think.
Yeah.
The who and the why.
It is though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you guys
have
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you guys have another one? Like I was saying, problem framing for me is a principle that I find I use effectively and it's helpful in life. Do you find others that to you are just like, this is a go-to, it works for me in life?
Okay, so outcomes, right? Okay, we're going to go on vacation. I asked the question, what does success look like?
Fantastic.
What does success look like? Okay. All right. So we're going to go to Disney World. What does success look like? Well, I want to see Guardians of the Galaxy and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. All right. Let's prioritize. Like, okay, if we can only go see these three things, what are the three most important things we got? Like, and now with two teenagers, I'm like, Casey, what are your top three? Haley, what are your top 10? I'm like, okay, we can only fit in so many in one day. Let's get our 6 in, right? So I'm like, we have to make trade-offs. We got to make trade-offs, right? I'll give you guys an example. We were just visiting New York, and we walked 20 miles. We walked a lot, okay? And success was, I want to see as much of the city as I can. Okay, it wasn't, I want to go to this museum. I want to go to the War Memorial. I want to XYZ. I want to see as much as we can.
Very different than the Disney World.
Very different.
The outcome, two different outcomes there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very much.
Because they recognize New York is humongous. You know, Central Park, going to Broadway Show, War Memorial, Statue of Liberty,
Madison Square Garden,
the Met.
See the next play.
Right? Like, so we may not have gone into any of those places, but we saw it, and we could do a selfie and put it on Snapchat so that we could, but that was success. Right? That was success. They have proof that they went and saw those places. We didn't go in because there's no way we're going to be able to go in like one day and do all it. Like, it's just not possible.
Yep.
Right? And all of us had the same number one, which is see a Broadway show. which, by the way, Heart of Rock and Roll, it's based off the music from Huey Lewis and the News. It was so amazing. I'm just going to put a plug. It was unbelievable. It was so cool. I knew every single song in that show. I felt good.
So did you embarrass your daughters? That's the real question.
No. I asked them, like, did you recognize any songs? Like, well, I think I recognized 2 songs. And I'm like,
okay,
oh
I get it, Huey Lewis. It just sounds like another thing ruined by musicals.
No, it was so good.
I don't understand.
It was so good. It was so good, guys. I'm telling you, it was so good.
I sent my kids with my brother-in-law to a musical, and my wife and I went and saw a Knicks game. That's how we did New York.
That's how you did New York. That's hilarious. But prioritization, I feel that creeping into so many aspects of life.
Oh, totally.
Do you do that with your family, Ryan? Do you do prioritization?
Oh, yes. Todd, I think you gave me the idea. I stole it, Blade. I'm going to just admit that. I think I stole it from you. We're a family of 4, and we still have the debates about what are we going to have for dinner tonight. It's like, what do you mean? Like, we can't just agree, everybody? So we did a dot voting exercise.
Love it. It works, right? And did they argue afterward? After it was done and the decision was made?
Everybody was happy.
It's crazy. We do it for board games. We did it for Disney World. That's how we decided the order of which amusement rides. They're called rides. Yes, the rides that we went on. And it's funny is we don't get argument after dot voting. It's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy. You know, the one that I tried that failed miserably. I tried implementing whip limits.
Oh no!
On the honey-do list. I'm like, babe.
Sounds so bad.
Oh my God. I was like, babe, you give me like 4 things. I'm doing them all in prog. Can I just do one? Can I just get one done? Please. Like, I've exceeded my whip limit of 2 and we're at like 5.
Exceeded my whip limit of 2.
I want to have been a fly on the wall when you used the word whip limit.
I didn't use those exact words, but I insinuaid it. And I have a Kanban. I have a.
He had his Kanban up. Right?
I have my Kanban. I'm like, hey, my whip limit is 2. If there was a scrum master in my household, they'd be like, time out. We're in violation of, if Dean Peters were in the house, he'd be like, Joe's right. And my wife would be like, get out of my house is what she would say. Yeah, whip limit does not work. I can tell you, I tried that. That does not work at all. Sorry, we got back dot voting.
No, I think that was majestic, Joe.
Well, you know what's fun though? I love the outcomes. I'll tell you an outcome one from me. And this whip limit. Let me just say this first. This whip limit gives me an idea. Like as you were saying it, I realized I think it could actually help me be a better parent. If I considered my kids' whip limits with their schoolwork and their homework and balancing it. Anyway, not that I would pull out a chart and do the whole chart, but just mentally considering this is too much for them. They've achieved limit.
I think schools could do a better job of implementing whip limits with kids.
Oh my gosh. School only thinks about schoolwork. They don't think about
anything else.
10 other things that they've got going on.
My wife is fantastic at this. This is partly because we have a kid who's on an IEP, but she's great about, she just tells the teacher no. She'll tell him, you assigned 20 problems. It took him an hour and a half to do 10.
Right.
He's done.
That's it.
You're getting 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go to outcomes though.
Okay.
So you said outcomes. I got to tell you my story. I just thought I would try it. It was an experiment. It was a tiny act of discovery. I had a hypothesis that using outcomes to teach my daughter how to blow, we have a blower and to blow off our back patio, might be more effective than me trying to teach her each of the steps and the things that I would do to clean it. So I thought, let's just try it and see how it works. So I explained to her what the outcome was, and I described the outcome. And I described how here's what is good for me. Like, here's what I'm trying to achieve. I don't want all the leaves and debris in the grass. I want the grass to be green and unspotted. Then I don't want the leaves in the crevices because then it makes it look really gross. I want them out of there. So mine is clean patio, clean crevices, clean lawn. Like that to me is a good job. She did it. I don't think she did it exactly the way I would, but guess what?
The outcome.
Grass looked good, patio looked good, crevices look good. Totally worked. Outcome focus.
There we go. And this is telling me like the little things in parenting. Like I'd say you were very deliberate, Todd. Mine, it only is coming to me now. I'm spreading mulch yesterday and the kids, I want to help. Dad, can I help? Oh, sure. So they have this like little mini wheelbarrow that like, let's see, my kids, they're soon to be 12 and 9. So it's not like they're tiny, but the wheelbarrow's too small for them. It was like the child's one. So there's a pretty steep hill that's maybe about 15 feet long. My daughter makes her way up to the top with the wheelbarrow and dumps the mulch. Tells my son to come to the bottom of the hill. She's going to let the wheelbarrow roll down by itself and he needs to catch it. And I say, no, don't stop. And before I said, don't do anything. And I ask her, what's going to happen when that wheelbarrow gets to the bottom, moving very quickly, and your brother is standing there? Think about it. Well, he's going to catch it. I said, okay, will he? Maybe. What if he doesn't catch it? He might get hurt. Okay. Outcome.
Now, I got to ask, were you that calm when you were having this discussion with your daughter? Or were you 7 octaves?
Oh, no.
Octaves
I was definitely not that calm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So outcomes. There we go. Outcomes come.
I am a much better teacher as a parent in retrospect.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I'm not. I get impatient.
No, I was saying,
like
when I
after the
tell the
fact.
story about what I did, I sound so much better than when it actually happened.
Yeah. So, guys, I have another one. I've got another product principle that I think will be interesting. This one, iterative learning. So let me tell you about it. And it's like with the worst, maybe not the worst. Like I don't mind doing the dishes, but I know some people like hate doing the dishes. And my wife, like, she thinks I am off my rocker because I will experiment. Like even to this day, even though I've done it a million times, which placement of the dishes in the dishwasher is best to maximize capacity? How do I get the best clean with the best placement? Like, how do I work it? It's like a puzzle to me. Like, and I'm trying it all the time. Like, how do I do this? So when it's done, I don't have to rewash anything. And when we can get the most in there, so I don't have to work harder. How do I put it all together? Like, that's my iterative like thing. And there are other things like about like the house and things. I'm always trying. Like, I can do this better. I know I can do it better. And I want to try it. Like, let me try it out. So like iteration creeps into my life.
I could not agree with you more. We got to save time. If there's a better way of doing it, the only way we're going to figure it out is if we try something a little bit different. If it doesn't work, no skin off my back. But I think that is, I've never done it with my dishes, but like yard work, like mowing the lawn, edging, weeding.
Yep.
Like,
absolutely.
If I could figure out a way to do a better job, like I've tried so many different ways with like weed control and stuff like that. I'll be honest, trimming bushes.
Yep.
I finally gave up and I said, I'm just going to hire somebody and they're going to do it in like 25 minutes. Then this is actually really bad. Then if my wife's upset, she can't yell at me because I screwed it up. She can yell at the company. No, but I mean, like,
to be done, Joe.
But this is the point. Let's go back to portfolio management, right?
Yeah.
This is when you have to decide: does it make sense to outsource here?
Exactly.
And what is the quality trade-off and cost trade-off for this outsourcing? For me, I just had the same experience this weekend. Mulching. Thank you, Ryan. We recently mulched. My driveway was a dirty mess. So I decided I was going to power wash it, going to pressure wash it. I'm washing waves and waves of gross off my driveway. 3 hours later, because I get intense. I do the spot cleaning. I want it looking nice and pristine. I've done 2 sections of this driveway, and there's 4 more left. 3 hours later, and I went, Todd, this is dumb. You can afford to pay someone to do this. Like at this point, what have I actually achieved versus the opportunity cost And you know what's funny is that other person will do it better.
Yes.
They will do better, and I will get back the day it would take me to actually do that job.
That's how I feel about a lot of things.
All right,
I mean,
Todd, I've got a pro tip for you. Speaking of iteration, before the mulch guy came, I laid a tarp down.
oh yeah.
So I didn't have a
Oh,
brown
I do
spot.
that. Oh, yeah.
Look at me with my brilliant ideas.
Iteration. I've learned.
No, it is smart. This is only our third mulching. I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
I used to bring my friend over when the kids were little, and I'm like, dude, bring your wheelbarrow. We can knock this out in half a day, and I'll buy you pizza and beer.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny. So you just hit on my success metric, one of my key success metrics when it comes to yard work. We have a guy in our neighborhood. His name is Bogdan. His lawn is beautiful. Everyone has one. Everyone has one on the block, right?
Oh, there's that.
Oh, yeah.
He spends so much time. His lawn looks like a movie lawn. Like it's so gorgeous.
Botanical gardens.
Yes. I want my lawn to look good. I don't need to achieve Bogdan's level of good. For me, it's speed. I'm like, I want to do the yard work and get back in the house.
Yes.
That is it.
No, so real quick. So Todd, our rule in the Gale household is all landscaping is done before Memorial Day. That's our line in the sand. Like, we're going to power through it. We're going to have a couple of
rule. I like that rule.
And it's like, we want to enjoy our summers.
Yeah. Well, it's
Focusing
like a
on
time
the outcome.
management principle, right? Like we as product people, like we are doing things like that. Like, okay, depending on where the things we're working on are in a particular life cycle or cadence, we're saying, like, hey, we need to draw a line in the sand. I mean, as much as we would like to maybe be an infinite discoverer to get perfect product market fit, it just can't happen. You know, we gotta do it by Memorial Day, and then we gotta make a decision. So because we need to do the next thing.
There are deadlines.
Right.
There is a done.
We want to enjoy the summer because the summers are short.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. Can you think of any product principles that just don't work? You find don't work well in real life? I have an example if you want me to go first. But do you have any that come to mind where you're like, this is good in product land, doesn't work in real life? Ryan has one.
I guess my examples, I'm going to just put the disclaimer. There's an asterisk here where it's like everything's good in moderation. It's if you go too hard. And the one I'm thinking about is the metrics driven approach to like real life. You can't, like, sometimes it's okay to take the scenic route to your location. Like,
yes.
Or sometimes like you can be surprised by something and let it disrupt you. Like you can't just always like we're gonna stop. We're gonna do like use the data to make the decision here. Like that. Sometimes it's just it doesn't work in real life, and it's gonna piss people off.
Well, I agree, and I have an example of that. So I think of data too, and I like that the KPI driven thought process there, but also just finding data. I've gotten to the point where I'm so obsessed about somewhere there's an answer, somewhere there's data that will help me make this decision. And I'll give you one example. So I wear contacts. I've worn contacts my whole life. I'm really obsessive about cleaning my hands because I know I'm going to touch my eyes. And yet I get styes. I get a stye in my eye. It's become less frequent as I'm getting, I think, better hygiene as I get older. But nonetheless, I keep getting styes. I can't tell you how many articles I've read about styes, where they come from, how they happen. And there are times I just can't explain why I wake up and I'm feeling the itch. I know a stye is coming. And I don't know why. And it drives me nuts. Guys, if this tool existed, I would buy it. I would pay for the subscription. If I could wear this thing that told me when I was in danger of getting a stye, that gave me some data that measured stye coming, do this now, I would drive myself crazy. And I think in general, I just think that applies to health in general. I'll take it to one. I know it's a little darker place, but I'm just going to mention it really quick. Like, my father passed away of heart disease. It's hereditary. He never showed signs of it. He was a very fit person. He had good health indicators throughout his life, and yet that's why he died. I took his autopsy to my cardiologist, and he said, "Look, you're going to drive yourself crazy trying to understand why this is. Live your best life, enjoy it." He said, "Come see me every few years," and that's what it's going to be. And it's true. Like, there's some things in life where the data is just not there. How to handle something that your teenager just went through. Like, there's plenty of books people have written stuff on, but the perfect right answer doesn't always exist. And sometimes we just have to not look.
Yeah, there's so much
Let it go.
ambiguity. And I think where it goes most wrong is when you have an over-reliance on quantitative data, or you're seeking too much quantitative and you're neglecting the qualitative aspects or inputs into certain decisions. Because, like, I got to tell you, there was a time in my career where I changed jobs and it forced a move. Like, I was moving away from family and things and stuff like that. And I was trying to treat it like I made a spreadsheet. I was using numbers, like I put it trying to paint the picture, and I think that was like real. It was a point where I had to raise the white flag, like, I'm doing it wrong, like, and I was ignoring the qualitative aspects of life, essentially, and I think that's where it goes most wrong.
I'm a planner. I'm a planner through and through. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like planning, and like sometimes my family has to be like, "Can we just live in the moment? Do we have to not look?" Like, we're going to Philadelphia, and I was trying to figure out, where do I want to park?
Yes.
Where am I going to park? Because it drives me nuts. Like, I hate driving in the city.
I do it too, Joe. I do it too. I know my parking spots.
I hate driving in the city, especially a city that I don't know. It just makes my like the hair on the back of my neck stand up, right? And I read all these reviews, and my wife's like, "Can we just get to the hotel and see what's around there?" I'm like, "Well, what if they?" She's like, "Then we'll figure it out." Right? Like, something like, it's just. And you know what? She was right. Just like literally a block, not even a block from the hotel, there was public parking. It was cheaper than valet, all this other stuff. And I'm like, if I had done it, I would have spent more money. It would have been like, where am I going to find it? Where's it going to be? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like living in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny? It's a different balance in the product life. You do have to have some qualitative. You do have to be comfortable in ambiguity. But in real life, it's almost like you need to pull the walls down even further. Like, plan a little bit less. There's times when it's just appropriate to just be and exist. And maybe you're on the beach, and maybe there was something slightly more fun that you could have done, but don't worry about maximizing your fun KPI. Just enjoy where you are.
Just enjoy the time you have with your family.
Enjoy it. Yeah. So I got an idea for our key takeaways this time that we could try a little different. Let's share. It could be either or both. One thing that you would recommend to people as product principle or technique in real life. Try this thing. And or one thing you've heard here today that maybe you sparked a new idea where you're like, ooh, I think I might try this thing at home.
Mine are kind of related, both the thing I want to recommend to people and the thing I want to do. The thing I recommend to people is probably the outcome focus. It's like the outcome focus is so important. You gotta, we don't want to just do things for the sake of doing things. Like, we want to do things with purpose, and we're going to be like other things like prioritization or making other decisions kind of come more naturally, or the easier, perhaps, if you have that. And the thing I want to try, Todd, is you were talking about your daughter and she was blowing the patio off. Like, I know I could do a better job. I am very type A, guys. Like, I tell everybody, I would be the president of the type A overachievers club if I could.
I would agree with that.
So I have a hard time, particularly with my kids, like, to tell them, like, no, do it like this, like Dad says. And instead, like, my son in particular, like he is Mr. Rules. Like life has a rule book, I must abide. Like no, just get to the end. Like I show him the end, get there, and I want to do that. I think like I would be a better father. He would be a better off for it as a result.
That's cool.
So I would say you don't really know someone until you spend a day walking in their shoes, right? It's that lesson you get from To Kill a Mockingbird. I tell people this all the time, right? I feel like we would be better human beings if we could just practice that concept a little bit more, right? Don't take it personally if someone's in a bad mood when you see them. Like, okay, wait,
100%.
maybe something happened. Like, so it's that, and then don't say it. Don't use the term jobs to be done, but like, okay, always remember, like with people you're dealing with, there's not just a functional job to be done. There's that emotional. It's like, understand it. Just ask the questions. Like, take a step back. Like just take a moment to do that. I think we'd just be better human beings in general.
I love that. And it's funny, similarly, the one I would recommend is problem framing. Mm-hmm. And I'll take it to one other place where you can use it, and it's with yourself. And I'll do this sometimes. And sometimes it requires me being really honest that there's like a social job to be done. That when as I frame the problem, I'm like, really the problem is I want to be perceived a certain way and I don't feel like I am.
Yeah.
That happens. So I recommend that. I find it really helpful when I really understand the problem I'm trying to solve. Whether it's like home finance or something going on with the kids or just personal feel, like I find that helps out a lot. I'm really going to consider the whip limits with my kids.
Whip limits.
I'm going to consider. If they do and it works and it helps them, I'll have them give you a call and thank you, Joe. They'll call you and be like, thank you. We have a better dad now. Thank you for helping him.
Hey, whip limits.
Alrighty, gentlemen. It has been real. This was fun. This was good. I think this is like soup for the soul, like this discussion. It just reaffirmed like why I do this. I think we'd all be better if we could just take a little bit of product management training. You know what I mean?
Never been prouder of our field. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fantastic.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Stay safe.
Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Blockhere for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.